Hi, this is Roger Smith, and this is a True Blue Media. And today I interview a great friend, Colin CeeBee Brown. This guy's been in UK reggae music from the devil was a boy. So let me, with no further ado, introduce my man Colin. Colin, how you
Yeah.
doing, my brother?
Greetings, greetings, Roger. Blessed, blessed, blessings.
All right. Well, I kind of butchered up the the start there when I was trying to introduce you. So what I want you to do is tell me what got you into UK music. Um, were you were you trying to stay away from gangs? Why music was it to you? Was it just the influence from your parents and them bringing over music? Where did it start? And let me know what you've been doing.
Yeah. So, firstly, I'll tell you the organisations I'm involved in and what I'm, and then I'll take you back.
Yep.
So, I'm part since 2015. I've been part of an organisation called Reggae Fraternity UK. I'm one of the founder members, and that organisation is there to support UK artists and musicians. I'm also a member of I'm a DJ presenter again from 2015 on a internet radio station called Chawa Radio. Those things happen literally at the same within the same within months of each other. I, you know, became part of that. I'm also a member of an organisation called Dementia in Dub, and the purpose of that is to create awareness about mentoring the African Caribbean community and the benefits of music with regards to dementia and how music where can stimulate a mind where other things don't get through to someone that's on that dementia pathway. So going back in terms of the whole root of the thing for me, I'm a 1960s baby. I was born in 1960. My parents are from Jamaica. So growing up, I remember hearing the blue beat, ska, those type of music. Obviously, everyone was listening to for religious. We all had the Jim Reeves, distant drums and all that kind of music in the
Charlie
household.
Pride.
Yeah, so we all had that. Well, most of us from a Caribbean background had those kind of musics in the household. So I was always fascinated and like I mean my dad always had parties, so we grew up um, with parties in the house. People, my dad was quite a successful, he was a bit of an entrepreneur, so was always having house parties and whatever, and if not at our house, and then later on he bought other houses, and then we'd have parties at our other houses, and um, my uncle, who had a big sound system back in the day, so my uncle used to play for my dad at my dad's parties. So yeah, I just remember growing up around all that music, and you know, as I became, maybe became a teenager and whatever, approaching my teens was the first to go into the living room. The living room that we weren't was off limits to most of us. I was the first to go in there and grab hold of my dad's latest selection. My dad, we're from London, so my dad and South London, so my dad used to go to Brixton Market and always get the latest music. My dad used to love buying music and listening to music, so I would be the first of my siblings to get hold of the tunes and play them on the record player. And back in them days, you had to be careful not to damage the needle. Anyhow, that was a major offense if you mashed the needle.
Yep.
You get some serious beating if you damage the needle. So yeah, it goes right back to then. See being amongst party, a little youth, dancing amongst these big people, and being allowed to drink. So the first time I got drunk was actually probably at one of my dad's parties. And I remember me and my brothers and sisters, literally waking up and throwing up, and my mum having to play nurse to all these youngsters. I know that we probably get reported for it in this day and age now, but we used to drink some serious liquor and beer back in the day, and it wasn't a problem. Was not.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. I remember distinctly our parents having a party when we lived in Tottenham, and it was our job to clean up the front room. And I don't know what got into me, but it was easier to drink the leftover drinks. And that's the first time I was ever drunk as well, And as a
Yeah,
9 year old, there's no one to tell that you don't
yeah,
feel well or anything. I mean, it was just, it is what it is.
yeah, those
Yeah,
days, I mean, family social services will be called out, with the,
yeah,
child abuse where you're letting your children do too much. So that's kind of my background. Probably typical, or not typical, really, because my dad ran a little gambling thing as well down one of these other houses. So one of the things that me and my brothers had to do was clean up. Every so often we'd have to go and clean up his gambling spot.
right,
One of the things that we did that he had down there, we were also able to access the records down there because he
right.
had a record player down there. So again, down there we were playing the music and whatever.
What makes me, what surprises me a lot, and I may get beaten up for this, but it's okay. So Jamaicans that came over on the around about 50s, 60s weren't, they weren't the lawyers and doctors in Jamaica, you know what I mean? And it's, you just mentioning something just made me know, here's your dad, he's an entrepreneur in his own right, buying properties, keeping party,
Yeah,
running his casinos, so to speak. You know what I mean? but those are entrepreneurial skills, and we
absolutely.
weren't even looking at it. You know what I mean? And if a man's father got a job in Ford's or he's, what I mean, we're thinking that was the big deal, but the big deal was the man that could make a money for himself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's only sort of when as I became I think probably when I was in my 20s and I understood how the thing worked. I didn't realize that the men had to pay to gamble at the table. I didn't realize that there was all that
Right.
system. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And
and
the mortgage have to pay. The mortgage has to be paid.
I never saw my dad weekends, so we would lose him from the Friday, and he would cook for all the men. So and I understand that people told me they probably didn't pay for that, but then they didn't have to leave. Everything was there. Obviously, he was selling the beer and the drinks and whatever, but everything was there for their comfort. And obviously, he's making the money from all of this. You understand what I'm saying?
That was Las Vegas before there was Las Vegas.
So,
Gambling, booze, women, whatever they need.
oh my God,
Yeah.
so those were my early years. That's how that's what I was. The only thing I didn't like back in those days was having to go to the bookie shop. My dad obviously, he never liked getting up in the morning, so
Right.
he'd write whilst he's in bed, write out his bookie slip. Well, and then he'd send us down. We're kids,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're only 10 years old, so we're having to go to the bookie shop and beg someone to put on the bet for us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mainly white men. We'd have to say, "Excuse me, sir, can you put this bet on for my dad?" And you trust them to go in with your money or whatever, and come back out, give you the money, give you the thing, the slip, and then you take it home to your dad. That's
Yeah, yeah.
one thing I like, and buying paraffin, hating it. Those are the two things, with the paraffin heater.
Yeah, yeah.
Go buy 2 gallon of paraffin. Hating those things,
Wow,
man.
wow, wow.
So
So tell me how so while going to school for you, and I'm talking about junior school and secondary school, how did the music evolve in your mind? Were you the guy that was walking around with your sharp triple? Was it triple five? The because everybody had one.
no, so I was, so you're talking. Um, as I said, I'm a 60s baby, so I went to secondary school, say in 71, 71 was when I went to secondary school. So my first experience of really before that, my dad worked at a place called Myers Comfortable Beds. Before that, he used to work at a company called Whiteways. Whiteways used to make all these hair dracks, um, um, uh, and I used to know that he used to come home with like Cherry B and those kind of drinks. So all that, and then when he left that company, he went and worked for a company called Myers Comfortable Beds. And what my dad used to bring home was wood, very high quality wood. So Myers used to make beds, they made coffee tables and all, but all from wood. So I was getting into electronics and that thing, and building speakers and that type of thing. So what I had to build my speaker boxes, where other people were like maybe having to get something off the street, I was getting very good quality Formica wood and whatever to build my speaker boxes from my dad bringing wood home. So that was my first thing when starting to build boxes, and actually I started to string up our little gram. And when I used to have a bath, I ran a cable from the gram. Our bathroom was next to the front room, and I used to like to listen to music in the bath. So I'd run a cable from the bathroom into from the living room into the bathroom, so I could play music, hear music while I was bathing. And one of the things I started doing was sleeping in the bath. Dad used to get mad and knock, Colin, you're sleeping there? You're sleeping there?
Just
What?
relaxing.
Huh?
Just relaxing.
Relaxing, man. The water get cold enough, but I'm in there. Music's playing or whatever. I'm nice. So
Wow, wow.
I was getting into electronics from a very early age, and that's what spurred me on to start then getting into the audio side of it, because I was doing building little things, like when Christmas come, I was building a little theater set, Joseph and Mary. I was with lights, and from cars, there used to be a lot of abandoned cars, or we were near a scrapyard or whatever, and I got the control panel from there and had switches and whatever. So I made a little thing where Joseph and Mary had all these lights, and I was able to switch to different lights. So I was into electronics from an early age. My dad saw my interest in music and playing music, starting to collect music when I was in my teens, and also that I built these boxes and whatever. And he looked at what I was doing, and he said, as I said to you earlier, my uncle used to play at my dad's parties.
Right.
My dad, when I was at the age of 14 or 15, I can't remember exactly, said to me, I want you to play at my party. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna play at a big people's party. So I called my friend, me and him, we were similar. We were building, he was building his boxes, I was building mine and whatever. So I said, why? Yeah, come and bring your records, and we'll do this party. So yeah, I was testing for weeks and making sure and whatever, everything was nice. Um, Listen, the party was wicked. It was ram, as all my dad's parties were ram. Um, One of the things with my dad never, no one had to pay anything at my dad's parties. There was no bottle parties. My dad paid for everything. Food and drink was all free. I'm doing the music now, and we were in deep. We struggled with music selection. I was not an MC. Back in them days, all they used to say in the mic was "Ach, ach." That was a subtotal of MC back in the days. Yeah, there was no lyrics back in them time there. So one of the big men then came and got on the microphone. And then when we were struggling for selection, some of my dad's friends went home and got their records, and they augmented my collection and whatever, and they bailed us out literally. But that
Nice.
was that. You know what I took from that was the belief that my dad had in me, to allow me to play at his one of his parties, and I never forgot that. So that was a start for me of
Before you go on further, just having that father, Jamaican father,
yeah.
to hear a Jamaican talk about the Jamaican father having belief in them, that's like
Yeah,
a Lewis Hamilton and his dad kind of, because you know
absolutely.
it was a total disciplinarian, don't say
Absolutely.
nothing, going at the corner, don't say nothing kind of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I got my share of beatings. Trust me. We got a serious beating. Oh, I mean, call child services in. The kind of beating we got back in them time there. You know, even I remember one time my mum, when she weren't going to wait on my dad, and she got the, you know, we ran under the bed, and she got the long broom, and she rammed the broom under the bed. That kind of beat where we get.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Those were the days, man. But you know, I'm here
So,
telling the tale.
so when you were playing music for your parents, I was going to ask you, but you said you got bailed out because I was always going to be thinking, how do you relate to the music that people that were born in the 40s would relate to music? It's a different kind of vibe and tenor, you know.
Yeah, so because my dad had always had parties, I knew the music. If you see what I'm saying, it was ska. You get what I mean? It was reggae was, you know, so 70s reggae was coming in or becoming more prominent. So it was, you know, you had to do. I don't recall having a soca collection, but I remember the song "Grenada, We Love You." That was a big song back in the day. You get what I mean? And everyone, no matter what, where you came from, what island
Right.
you came from, everyone knew that song. You get what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
know,
with me
so
it's gonna be Millie. All of the Jamaicans that came on top of the pops in 71,
yes,
72, them days, those are gonna be the ones I grew up on. So tell me,
yeah.
so during school now, so you said you were interested in electronics, so you embarked that way as far as college is concerned, because we met up at the same company working for the government,
Yeah, yeah.
and I wanted to know, how did you get there?
Right. So after leaving school, um, I went straight to college, South London College. That was the path. So I did a City and
Where
Guilds
was
in
that? Peckham, Brixton?
no Norwood.
No, okay, okay, yeah.
South, yeah, yeah, West Norwood. So I went to college there. So people like that, you know, Colin Allen and Leonard Brown and sort of those kind of people.
Huey as
They would,
well.
sorry,
Huey, the late Huey.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We were all at college together.
I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. South London back in so started the '76.
Uh huh.
A band that I saw at college. Our college was amazing. We had our own bar for the students, literally. So lunchtime we're drinking liquor, you know. Um, we had a pool, you know, we had a games room, students union. It was an amazing scene. You get, table soccer and pool. I never experienced those things before college. So going in there and seeing these guys playing table soccer and, all those type of things was like, wow, they all seemed cool to me. And the fact that we had this bar, and yeah, it was just an amazing time. And there was a guy called Richards. He had a sound system. He brought his sound system actually became resident in the college.
Right.
So,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
so that was those days. Um, and the fact that we had the Students Union organized the night when a band or a group, Rico, the I think is it trombone he plays. I can't remember what
Right.
instrument he. But he came there, and his album "Man from Warwick," and he was playing tracks from his album. And I
Uh huh.
remember he had such an impact on me. I think that was really my first reggae concert, to be quite frank. And it had such an impact on me that I went out and bought the album and never stopped playing it. Really class musician, Rico. So the fact that we had a sound system at the college and we had live bands, the students union was quite proactive and whatever. And then we had all these people that were interested in music. So there was a club at that time in Brixton called Clouds, opposite Brixton police station. So all the
Okay.
kids were going there on a Sunday. So that was like a Sunday youth disco,
Uh
if we
huh.
want to go the word. Obviously, we would hear soul and reggae there. So we were going there in our hundreds to this place on a Sunday to get to hear all the latest reggae music and soul music. So youngsters. So I was getting immersed in all this, and outside of college, I was building up a sound system with my brethren, the same one that played with me, played at my dad's party. As we were getting older, we were starting to build. We collaborated at that point, and we were starting to build our own sound. and starting to get gigs.
So Colin, what I saw a difference in, and you're gonna have to explain this to me because I landed in Jamaica, in England from Jamaica in 1980. But
Yeah.
when you were playing music, even though you had your equipment, you were going into, wine bars. I don't know if that was an older thing or whatever, but I didn't remember, or I don't know of you having a sound system with like three DJ and one singer. The Saxon. You were more the sophisticated guy that would have probably transferred over to a Mac computer before them, and they still have them Valve amp playing around with. So tell me what made you take that direction to these nice wine bars.
Right. So the wine bar thing came later for us, but we went toe to toe with Saxon. So we were
Okay.
actually in the sound system being to the full. So
Okay.
we were going and cutting dub plates. We were going. We got our amp built by a company called or a guy called Barracuda up in Leighton. We went and got our amp from Barracuda because when we started out. I mean, the first major gig we did was on the River Thames. That was where we made our first real profit. We organised a boat trip, a boat dance. My dad came and he was so proud of us that we'd
What are we talking
organised
about? 1980?
1980. So we hired a boat and we organised a dance on the boat. So we took our sound on there. We had some old equipment at that time, and we it was a successful in terms of money and sellout and vibes. It was a sellout.
Wow.
We made our first profit from that boat trip. From there, we then upgraded our equipment. With that money that we made there, we went straight to the DJ shop that you could get all the latest equipment from, and we invested in modern equipment. Um,
Wait. Now I'm gonna ask you a stupid question, but you can help me. Was that shop near? Was it called like Richer Sounds on the London Bridge, or am I just talking rubbish?
oh, no. This was a proper DJ. Richer Sounds was more of a domestic
Okay.
outfit.
Okay.
Yeah, because they had multiple outfits. It's a shop called MCQ, which was Camberwell. Yeah,
Okay.
MCQ in Camberwell, Walworth, Walworth Road, that area. Yeah,
Right.
not
Right.
far
Right.
from where we used to work actually.
Yes. Hey,
Yes,
let me
that
let
was
everyone know. Let everyone know. So for me, as an 18-year-old, my social life used to get in the way of my career, and Colin Brown and Colin Allen and Huey Babb were the ones at those ages told me, calm your ass down. You know what I mean? These people are looking at you, calm your ass down because, you know,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
but you have to realize though, Colin, that had to be said by somebody. That's not something your parents can teach you in the workplace. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
and it doesn't just come naturally. As somebody look upon you and say, "Yo, you can't do them thing there," and you
Yeah,
ask, "Why
because
not?" You know what I mean?
we've been there, we've done that. We know the consequences of that, so we have to look out for the next man and say, "Listen, that ain't gonna serve you." No, what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but
But I
but
have to take the time and thank you guys. But for me, those talks and chats was my turnaround. And and,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and I have to say, even an older brother could not have done that. Me and you were in the Sherpa van, or me and Huey in the Sherpa van. And when them man there talk to you in the Sherpa van and I tell you about, what life is, and, because
yeah,
it's your first job. It's your first
yeah.
job out of college. And all I'm
Yeah, but
thinking about
all,
was,
all of the names that you mentioned, we have been in sound systems or were in sound systems at that time. We
right,
have been burning the candle at both ends because don't
yes,
forget, whilst we were doing our sound system, we were still studying.
right,
So one of the things that I remember is this difficult juggling act that you do with raving and studying, if you see what I'm saying. So you're knackered from raving, but yet
yeah,
you've still got to pass these exams. if you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying. Burning the candle.
Coming in the house 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have to have your train by 7. No sleep.
Teaching was a regular thing, where you I would come in, I would go straight to work from, especially like in doing, I remember one time doing overtime, and going straight to work from a party. um, I was mashed. And I remember going into the toilet, sitting on the toilet, and I fell asleep on the toilet. And a man must have heard me in the cubicle and throw water on me. He threw water over into the cubicle. And I'm sleeping. So I think this is dream. I think it's like raining in my dream. And then I'm woken up. Listen, I'm actually dripping with water. Someone
Yeah.
throw water on me. And we used to work in what, if you can imagine like a factory kind of setting where everyone's sitting at their bench. And I've gone to the toilet now. I've gone back to that sort of room where everyone is, and
Soaking wet.
everyone is laughing at me because whoever waked me up went back and told them that I was sleeping in that cubicle.
Right.
But that's
Oh
how we
man.
used to burn the candle both ends.
Yeah,
Where,
yeah.
where that was to my detriment at one time is when I fell asleep at the wheel when I was driving from a party, and I fell asleep at the wheel, and I had a head-on collision with another vehicle. So that's
Wow.
where it can go wrong. And touch wood. Thank God that wasn't my time, because literally, it was a serious car crash. Would you
Yeah,
believe
yeah, yeah.
I had a rum and black in the car at the time?
Yep, there you go. But you know what I found funny was, I remember on a Saturday night, you'd have 4 parties to go to, and you spent your time traveling between these parties. You didn't actually enjoy yourself, but the fact that you're going, boy, I got 4 parties. Yeah, one in a Brixton. Yeah, man, this other one's in Crystal Palace, and I'm thinking to myself, and in my mind, you knew you just needed to find one good party,
All right.
one girl, and one tile and one corner. That's all you needed.
So I'm gonna reveal my true colors here, and I know people are gonna hate. Some people might hate me after they hear this. We had 6 parties to go that night when I had the head-on car crash. Yeah.
Wow.
The first party, so the way we dropped it sometimes is like we would drive more than one vehicle, because we knew that if we wanted to separate or do our own thing, then it was better that more than one person or 2 people drive. So I had taken my car. The first party we went to, I saw a girl in there that I wanted to check. And I'm like to them, man, there, you know what? Go off to the next one. When you're done, come and check me back here, and then I'll come, and because there was a girl I'd seen there that I was interested in. Now that party went on for a little bit, and I didn't make no progress. And I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving here, and I'm gonna go back to my girlfriend's yard. Now I know I'm gonna get hated on for that part there, but
Do you know how persistent we were back in the day? Do you know how persistent? I was saying to someone the other day. I said I remember coming from school. I used to go to school in Hornsey, and there was a pretty girl that I used to like, and this was going to be 1980. I'm going to say, and the girl used to come off at the bus stop, like 10 bus stops before me. And I'd come off of the bus, and I'm walking behind her trying to, them things is stalkerish in in 2024. But when we were young, when you wanted a young lady's attention, man, you had to work for it, Dread. You had to work for it. Yeah?
back in them days,
If
yeah.
that girl turned around and smiled at me back in them days, man, I'd be that. She didn't even have to talk to me. That's how
Yeah,
things were,
make your
So,
day, make your day.
man.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we were flexing back in them days with the music scene. But you made a mention of, I think, wine bars and whatever that came later for us. We did our time going toe to toe with sounds.
But wasn't it rough though? Wasn't there when I remember? I used to go up to a place called Tulse Hill. They used to have Saxon was up there with like 4 or 5 sound
Yeah,
systems. Wasn't there a little
if you
bit of a
went
rougher crowd though? At one point, it got kind of edgy. No.
that's all I knew. I knew the battlefield. You understand what I'm saying? I had no issue with the battlefield. It's a battle.
So you
You're
used to have
there.
your goons with you as well, yeah?
It's a crew, isn't it? So you're there battling. You get what I'm saying? I was the MC. I was the man on the mic, toasting whatever. So you would be battling with the next man. I used to write lyrics at home and rehearse at home and whatever. So when you go out, you're ready for Killer Boy on the mic. You understand what I'm saying? So
Nice,
we
nice.
we 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 this is people who weren't in that time don't understand how serious we were about this sound system thing. You're a crew, and there's it's more to it than just turning up. We rehearsed, me and my cousin and whoever MC'd, we rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. So when we were out there, when we out, we're not chatting. It's not just off the head. It's not from the dome. We've written lyrics. We're gonna chart them lyrics. Yes, you're great if you can adapt and whatever because you come up to something or that you can see something that's happening in the room or whatever, and you can quickly incorporate that in your lyrics or whatever. You can do the head top thing, but majority of writing a whole entire rhythm that was based on written lyrics that we wrote. Um, so yeah, so in terms of that, we played Saxon 3 times. So
What was your
and then
sound called? What was your sound called?
we started off as the Mighty Three, and then we switched to the M3 crew. When South London switched on us, we didn't switch on it. When South London switched on us, and all of a sudden now everyone's into soul, and most of the man them are playing all these reggae sounds now, switching up and playing soul. I'm like still playing reggae, but the rest of my DJ partner, they've gone soul on me. You understand what I'm saying? So we
I remember
said,
the
well,
M3Q. I remember that.
yeah, so we then decided to go for a name change to deal with what was happening. So we changed from the Mighty Free Hi-Fi to the M3 Crew. We changed our logo because from that boat trip that we did back in '80, um, we my brother knew a graphic designer, and he designed a logo for us. I never knew what logo meant back in them day then. So my brother's saying, "Oh, we're going to create a logo." I'm like, "Well, what's that word? I'm not familiar with that word. What do you mean logo?
Marketing.
What is a logo?" And this a logo was designed for us, and then we created a. I don't know if you remember back in the days, they used to have like an ultraviolet light, and you'd have a light box and something would glow. You go into maybe a club or something, and they'd use a ultraviolet light, and if you use fluorescent tubing or whatever, it would glow. So
Yes.
we designed a light box, and that was our logo was always put up in whatever room that we were in. People would know us for our logo. So they would see, even if they didn't know who we were, our logo would identify us
Same,
because it
same,
was a
same.
light box, and so that was one of the things we did back in the day. But no, the wine bar thing, the residency that came later. When everyone started now going out, and our people now started owning wine bars, and it
Right.
became the in thing. So yeah, we had a residency at a place called Gigi's in Streatham, but
I
that
remember
was long.
Gigi's. I remember
Yeah,
Gigi's.
that was like a real posh topper place because the guy that owned it, or the guys that owned it, Glenn was an antiques dealer, and he used to drive a Rolls Royce. So invariably you see a Rolls Royce parked up outside um, Gigi's, and then his partner Ferdy, he used to drive a Porsche, and I believe he lived in Mayfair.
Big deal
So
them days. Hey, hey. You see, nobody's understanding them days. It's not
yeah,
like what I mean. It's them days. You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that was an amazing place. Gigi's. What with Gigi? I remember when it opened, and they had like salmon, pink salmon, a big massive salmon, and all kind of posh food that I'd never seen before. That's how the place opened. And
See it,
I'm
see
like,
it.
boy, I felt a bit intimidated by the foods, just even spread.
Yeah.
God, them man, they were some serious high rollers.
Yeah. Hey, Colin. So, I've always wondered. So I remember the Lovers Rock era. Carol Thompson, Gene Adibambu, Janet
Yeah,
Kay, Paulette Taj. I mean, I left out no name. And then you had the man equivalent, the men equivalent of that. I always felt that that genre of music, I don't know if it was because of the simplicity or the fact that when you hold a girl and you're dancing with her, it was made for that loving type of interaction between man and woman back in the days. But I never thought that the music evolved like other music. And then I remember it growing until I started seeing man like Maxi Priest on Saxon and Roger Robin. But where is it that the lovers rock genre, those ladies didn't have the greatest voices? And I don't mean that in a bad way. Or was it, how comes it never got anywhere? Do you know what I mean? Why isn't lovers rock a nice genre now?
well, it actually did achieve more than you know, and that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Silly
In terms,
Games, is that the highest, one of the biggest?
Silly Games is one of the biggest in this country,
Okay.
and obviously Maxi Priest was successful with his fusion. Silly Games achieved, number 2 on the national pop charts. But equally, other lovers rock went into the national charts, and me and you never know what you got till it's gone. And the Storm, it's my
When you
house.
start talking like that, you're supposed to have your thing a queue up, but that's gonna be for another one, because you can't just
Yeah,
say it like
yeah.
that,
So,
no. Yeah,
so
go on.
there's, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, or because you've got a limited exposure and just had your circles, and people aren't aware of the success that the actual genre, the true success that the genre had. And I'll give you an example of what I'm trying to say. Would you believe that lovers rock was outselling all other genres back in the so we go into 78, 79. Lovers rock, and when I say genres, reggae genres, whilst, and this is a quote from a journalist, author called Penny Real. The quote that I carry around to everyone is, he said that whilst other genres of reggae were selling in the thousands, lovers rock was selling in the tens of thousands.
Wow.
Marked difference. And so when I did my exhibition, just to let your viewers know that I did an exhibition to highlight the pioneering years of lovers rock, the 1970s. So obviously I've done a lot of research on this, and one of the things that we identified was that quote by Penny Real, and understanding what were the economics, what made man like Sugar Minor from Jamaica, a studio man artist, decide that he wanted to come to the UK and start doing lovers rock. Good thing going, and you know how many Sugar Minor lovers rock tunes you've danced to.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean? Why did Sugar and others? Because the team, what it wasn't, maybe they didn't have the love in terms of a passion for it, but they saw that it was selling and the movements it could do. So then you say, okay, how is it that this music was outselling? So where's the money coming from? Okay, so let's have a look at this now. So we're in the 70s. Let's say we're talking about 78. So I'm born in the 1960. So I would have been 18 in 1978. So let's look at all my brothers and sisters of that age. We're mainly talking about the sisters. So 78, a girl's 18 now, or a woman, young girl's 18, and she's got a Saturday job, or she may well have gone off and got a full-time job. But what have they got now? They're not dependent now on their parents' record selection. They've got their own disposable income. They can make choices. And they made the choice to go into a record shop and buy songs that were relevant to them. Lovers Rock was relevant to them. So you now got a whole new group of people coming into the record shop, a whole swathe of people, mainly female, with a disposable income that they want to spend on songs that mean something to them. These love songs and songs that talk of heartbreak and first love and all them type of thing. A whole load of money was coming in. Yeah. So as someone, as a sound man that was in the record shop hanging out for 2, 3, 4 hours, 'cause that's how long we used to spend buying records. Occasionally we would see a young lady come in, and we're all drooling, but they've come in with their little lists. They're efficient. They hand their list to the guy over the counter.
Yeah.
In and out. They know what they've come there for. There's no messing around. The exchange is done within a matter of moments. And we are like, weird. Your car got so quick.
We've been in here 4 hours and we don't know what we want. We're just
Yeah.
looking.
No, but we're big because as a sound man, radio is behind what you've bought. You're buying the latest, what's just come off the plane or just come out of the warehouse. So when you get to a point as a sound man that radio is behind your collection because
Right.
the radio DJ has only got an hour or 2 hours on the radio, and you've got all he's got the same selection you've got because we've all gone to the record shop same time. So you got as a sound man, and if you're trying to be one of the top sounds, radio's behind you. You get what I'm saying? Because you've got what they've got and more because they can only play a certain amount in a certain time. So for the average person, yeah, they're hearing the latest tunes on radio, or they need to come to your sound to hear the latest selection. You understand what I'm saying? Because you spent that time curating and picking and whatever according to your listenership or the people that follow you as a sound.
I
You
have
know?
I have so many now that you've gone down this rabbit hole, I've got so many questions that I want to ask you that only maybe you can answer. So let's kind of pivot a little bit. So I've been noticing so I've been in the States for 29 years, and for some reason my son got me listening to Stormzy.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I'm liking that genre of music,
Yeah.
liking it big time. And I'm like, wow, this is different. Remember, I'm listening to Shabba, Ninja Man, and these guys. Now I listen to maybe Skilly Bangs, Skeng, and them and there because I don't want to feel too old. And then I'm listening to Stormzy and some of these other artists of the same genre. And now I'm noticing that these guys are like probably Nigerian extraction or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're not putting on these pseudo Jamaican terminology. They're not, they've marked out their own territory.
Okay.
When did
So
this happen and then gain popularity?
okay. So let's take a look at that. So what you had, so we're talking hip hop, rapping. Yeah. What you had was you're talking about from a reggae perspective. There's us that were born in England, and obviously you're going to speak a bit of your parents' native tongue or whatever. That's a given. Or some of us, some who just wanted to brace England or whatever, just said they're not going to even attempt patois.
Yeah.
They're going to speak the Queen's English, and we can never understand those people that disassociated themselves with from their heritage.
Right.
But you in the rap side, in the hip hop side. So when our UK artists used to get into rap and whatever, they would put on an American accent, and they would do the American thing. And what happened over a period of time? Um, the British accent started to get accepted, and I think what it was is there was a confidence growing, grew over time in the UK with people feeling comfortable with their own sound, with their own selves, and I think where because it started and I think where it really people like Stormzy and people before Stormzy, where because we're talking about the grime, what we call is grime scene, Well, we
So
started.
jungle was before that because jungle
Yes,
was
yes.
in when. So jungle was an experiment in this direction. What was jungle?
Listen, in the UK, we're continually creating new forms of music. So you're talking jungle, drum and bass, um, grime, um, uh, UK garage, all those. There's continually new music and new fusions coming out of this country, continually. And now we got Afro beats, you know, the different style of Afro beats here is kind of slightly different to what comes out of Africa. Do you get what I mean? And it's got maybe a British flavor on it. So we're continually evolving in this country and experimenting, and it's a beautiful thing. You know, I got involved in the jungle scene, the drum and bass scene, and I even produced a lot of that because, you know, I didn't. One of the things I didn't say is that I created a home studio and I created a company called a Hardcore Music Company back in 1990, and I released a record, and I did some concerts, you know, shows. Even in Brockwell Park, I did a show in Brockwell Park. Went to Birmingham Carnival, performed in Birmingham Carnival with my group. Um, but Going back to your point, we got more confident and we started to believe in ourselves. We're having success. So that was we're having success not just in reggae, because remember, um, um, Papa Levi had a number one in Jamaica with My God, My King. We're getting confident about being British.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? We're getting confident that as British people, people that were born in England, we created our style of rapping. And then we're seeing the Jamaicans emulating us with the fast style, you know, Saxon and the masters of the fast style. So
Yeah.
when I see man like, you know, Squidly Ranking, Johnny
Pap-
Ringo,
Papa San, Peter Metro. I used to
all of those guys
yeah, I used to
started
listen to. I used to grow up with these Saxon tapes, so I
yeah, so
know
when
all of them Saxon man. And then one day, you know, you're listening to this Jamaica stuff coming out of Jamaica, and like, but wait, them man, there's pirating the
well,
Saxon man's lyrics. Them, I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
exactly, exactly, and that's
And
when
even
we
now, I think
started.
Stephen Marley and even one of the Marley brothers, and when them do a little rap, it's from the Saxon crew from South
Right.
London.
So this is where the confidence of British people with British identity starts. So, and you're going back to that. Remember where we got confidence. Soul to Soul was a big part of that confidence. The fact that Soul to Soul, the Americans are now copying the Soul to Soul beat. You get what I mean? I mean, prior to Soul, obviously, loose ends were there. Loose ends made an impact in the US in the 80s. But then the real ones that lifted the lid was Soul to Soul, Jazzy B, that whole, because it was a movement. The Soul to Soul thing was a movement. So this is where, as British, you know, UK born people, we started to believe in ourselves after years of being told we're just imitators. We're starting to now see the rest of the world or the music community copy what we've created, what we've imagined, and we've. So that's where it's come from. So the Stormzy thing, um, you mentioned Nigerian and that thing. So yes, back in the day, when you look at the immigration statistics, the mass migration to England was mainly from the Caribbean. Where we are now is Africa is the dominant. When you're talking about the black community, the majority of the migration now comes from Africa. So that's where you see that confidence in, you know, back in the day, man never wanted to say he was African or whatever, but you know, it just that was the way it was. Everyone was trying to talk Jamaican back in the day, trying to
Yeah.
blend in. No matter what island you come from, you didn't want to show your true colors. You know what I mean? So
I'm
you know, be
Jamaican.
African or whatever. Everyone's a Jamaican. You understand? Loud, brash Jamaicans. You know, but now what I find now, and I think it's a beautiful thing that people are finding confidence in saying their identity. I mean, you know, today, I don't know if you saw the Olympics today, but St. Lucia now has the fastest 100-meter woman runner as a female. A St. Lucian girl won the 100 meters.
Julian Alfred. Yep.
Sorry?
Julian Alfred. Yeah, I saw it.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Nice.
it's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing, you know. So yeah, that people are becoming confident and Brits are becoming confident in their own identity. What happened with the American side and where we gained confidence is I say it was a Drake period when when the American rappers and that started to lean and Drake started to lead the pack, it started to become sugar coated rap, American rap, and the whole scene. For me and for people that like hardcore rap, it started to get a bit sugary. And the grime stuff that was coming out the UK was
Was real.
hardcore,
Yeah,
raw,
yeah.
gritty.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
gritty. And then what I noticed was the Americans now gravitated to the UK scene and saying, "Boy, these guys are raw. They're
Yep, yep,
spitting
yep.
some beats and spitting some bars and also there were one and two little rivalries when Stormzy and I can't remember who it was that him and Stormzy and whatever. There was a little a battle between and they were making rival tapes.
Right.
When all these little battles that used to happen in the US, and it kind of got too smooth in the US with the manufactured way things were happening in the States.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
your P Diddy manufacturing that whole glossy rap scene and all that kind of thing. And in England, the UK, it was just raw. That man would want to rip off your head with some nasty lyrics. And the American, the hardcore American that love their original rap, they
Yeah.
gravitated to what was happening in the UK. And all of a sudden, we're saying the UK rap scene getting respect from the Americans, and all of that boosts your confidence. I'm watching American rap shows now featuring UK artists,
Yep,
and I'm
yep,
like,
yep.
oh, the turnaround, or it's listen, the world's become small. The world has become very small.
I have another. I always think about this. For reggae artists, especially British reggae artists that made a lot of contributions back in the day,
Yeah.
but never got they got to play at big venues and stuff like that, but they never got the pension. And in Jamaica, that's an issue now as well because a lot of people, a lot of good artists got ripped off, and until this day, they're getting ripped off. Are any of your or any of the organizations you're affiliated with? Is this something that you do? Is anyone who's trying to feed the man them that used to sing and ting and know them a ton vagrant and not now go on for them?
Okay, so there are organizations that people should have. If you're a professional or semi-professional, you should have signed up to the. If we're talking UK here now, you should have signed up with the Musicians Union. You should be registered with PPL and PRS for your royalties and that type of thing. Yeah, Musicians Union. So when you look, when if you're a member of the MU, they will read your contract. So you sign a contract with someone. MU, as part of your membership, they provide that service for free. As part of your core membership. So that's one thing. Um, and a lot of people didn't and haven't been associated with any particular organization. A lot of people have just ducked and dived and never really taken the music business seriously. So you can't help everyone because as I did mention something at the beginning, that the organizations that I work with or I'm a part of. When I became a part of Reggae Fraternity UK, I said to the group, I said, we need to define the artists and musicians who we want to support. And I put them in three categories. I said there's the full-time professional. Yes, we want to support them. We said there's a part-time professional. Yes, we want to support them because those people have dreams of moving from maybe holding down a job and acting in a professional capacity in music of an evening or a weekend or whatever. The group that we don't want to really be working with are the amateurs or the hobbyists. And a lot of household names that you know that have got records and whatever are in that category. They make one tune a year and they tell you that. And I'm not talking an album, I'm talking maybe a single. And they get a slap on the back from their mates. They do a one stage show and they're happy.
Right,
And
right,
the
right.
problem with that group of people is that they may skew the fee because they're just doing it as a hobby or an interest. And they may do a show. And remember, a lot of these people are household names because over the years they've been on their grind, one tune a year, two tune a year, and they become a household name because they got onto some big shows, but they don't see it as a career. Yeah. But they may take a show for the lower fee than a professional. So they skew things, if you see what I'm saying. And the percentage I would suggest anecdotally of people that are in that third tier, what I'm saying is the hobbyist tier, the interest tier. I would go higher than 80% of the
Wow.
people that are in the business are in that tier. And I would put less than 90, maybe 5% in the pro tier. You understand what I'm saying? Semi pros maybe more because not everyone can get into that upper tier. So those are some of the things. So you answer when you so that's what the first thing you have to understand. Who are you trying to help? Because you cannot help everyone.
Yeah.
Because when you try to speak to them about contracts or you tell people, are you a member of this organization? You need to pay your subscription, blah 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 blah. Oh, they don't want to get involved. So you can't help them people because they don't. So yes, they've made a wicked tune, and they've made tunes that are probably the soundtrack to your younger life. But if those people don't take their own thing seriously, the only people that benefit are the majors, the people that have bought up all these little labels and are exploiting those tunes now and rinsing out those tunes now. There's a guy that I've been associated with who's working now with I believe it's more than 100 Jamaican artists trying to deal with that situation where these are recording artists from back in the 70s and 80s, the golden days, the golden period of reggae, when reggae was making some serious money. Um, if you remember, we had after George Floyd, we had the thing whereby the record industry and various industries came out and they had a can't remember if it was a blackout Monday or blackout Tuesday, but they all pledged that they were going to redress the balance of they admitted that they had unfair contracts where the contract of a black artist compared to a white artist in the music industry, entertainment industry, they were offered less money and less favorable terms and whatever. The music industry held its hand up and said, after George Floyd, we're going to do better. We've done wrong, and we want to put this right. So I've been following this, and I'll give you an example of the people that I've been following in terms of trying to track progress. So you've got David and Ansel Collins, Double Barrel, and that was done for Trojan Record. Trojan Record is owned by BMG, yeah, big company, BMG, and BMG made that same pledge. But I know, as I spoke to, I'm not going to say who, which of the pair that I spoke to, they haven't received that pledge that was made. That hasn't been honored. That hasn't been for, and I can name all heap of artists that says, why that little pledge what that was made back after George Floyd, and everyone was letting us through and saying, yeah, we need to do better with the black community. That lasted all of 3 months, 3 or 4 months.
I've always heard people talk about that. It's easy for these big corporations to make these pledges, but no one sees where the dollars is. They just get a
Yeah,
spokesman to say
you
something.
you have
You know.
to follow them and watch whether they are going to honor what they're saying. And they know the majority of us are going to take them on face value and not gonna, unless it's a real determined investigative journalist, is going to, pursue them and say, listen, you made this pledge. And it's not just in the music scene, it's across the board. All sorts of pledges were made to the black community after George Floyd, be it sports, whatever. It lasted about 3 or 4 months. I remember a documentary being made a year after George Floyd's death. A documentary was made by the BBC 1 year after, to see how many of these different industries honored their pledges that were made, and all of them backslid. All of them reneged. All
Lip
of them went
service. It was
forward.
just lip service to soothe us, so to
Yeah,
speak. You know.
and it works a lot of the time. We just, okay, they're going to deal with this. But unless you hold them, but there is a guy, and I'm in contact with him, and I can't remember his name, Henry or something. I can't, forgive me. But he is, and he's working with a lot of Jamaican artists to deal with this. But as you know, with each passing day, we're losing them. We're losing
You
these
know,
icons, and the
all
record
these big
company.
companies that said they were going to do something, they need to be named and shamed.
And that is happening, because that's what, but it's not happening in the way that you probably would like it to happen, in terms of the market making a bigger noise of it, and
Yeah.
so that everyone knows that someone's on the case. But unfortunately, um, most people aren't interested, really.
Because at one time it was pretty cool. You'd find you'd get a call from a white friend of yours, and he'd say, "Hey, Colin, I didn't know you felt this way. I'm just I'm just watching the news and realizing that due to your ancestral background and the slave triangle, you may be suffering." Is that so? I don't know if you ever had those chats, but I've had those chats, which kind of surprised me somewhat. So, Colin, let me ask you this much. So, as you mature, and as you get in the twilight years of your age, what is it you'd like to see? What are you working on? And, what sort of legacy, if that means anything to you?
Yeah, it does. I was born here in the UK, in Britain, and I'm obviously, well, not obviously. Hopefully, your viewers are familiar with the Windrush, the generation that came here to help rebuild the United Kingdom after the war. We came in our numbers, so that whole Windrush program was the first real mass migration to the UK. I'm part of that. I'm a descendant. I'm sort of what they would call the first generation of, the descendants, or second gen. So the
Yeah.
first gen being the people that came over here as part of the Windrush, second gen being the people that were born here. So I'm one of the people that were born here, and I'm kind of I'm loyal, and I kind of worked out in the 80s where what my identity was. Were lost in this. We, and I know many of us were. I didn't quite understand my identity in the 70s. Am I British? Am I Jamaican? What am I? That that song came out by the Mighty Diamonds, Identity. I used to sing that all the time because I didn't really understand my identity. So because this society was rejecting me, I tended to I leaned towards Jamaica, and I felt I had more of a Jamaican identity. Only to go to Jamaica. The first time I went to Jamaica was in 1966, when I was 6 years old. So as an adult, the first time going to Jamaica as an adult, which was in the early 80s, going to Jamaica now. I remember I'm doing toasting and all that. I'm in sound system that time. So I'm really feeling part of that Jamaican thing. And then going over there, and man say, English, give me our money now. and, and I'm getting ripped off in Jamaica. Me and my cousin would go to the shop together, and there's one price. And then when I go by myself, and I remember he's introduced me to the shopkeeper, the
Right,
day.
right.
Now I've gone in by myself, the thing's a different price. It's more expensive. So now I'm not feeling the love of Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah.
because they're calling me English and all kind of things. So I've come away from those early years of going to Jamaica as an adult, young adult. Now, like, why? They're not really love me over there, no. And I'm born here. I'm not gonna immigrate or whatever. So I got to figure out where I fit in this society over here. So I've, come to a place or a space in my mind and a time in my life where I'm British. I'm not going to be buried in any other country. Yes, I'm ever buried. You know what I mean? So I'm proud of the fact that I was born here. I love and I have a love for people that have a shared experience like me that were born here, and we've experienced, racism. We've experienced all sorts of things, highs and lows. You know, and I want to. I don't want us to be the jokers in the pack in terms of the Caribbean community that was here, good for nothing. They love a party, but they're not serious about business. Any business they make, you know what I mean? Them run off with the money and go spend the money on cars and whatever, which is what happened a lot in the 70s, as you know,
Right.
60s and 70s. Get bank loan and then man them go and go buy a big car and spending their money in clubs and flossing. I want to leave a legacy and show the next generation, our children and our children's children, that we have done positive things here. And the thing is that it's not that I'm doing these, I'm just unearthing the things that we have achieved through adversity, through all of the difficult obstacles that have been put in our way. We actually have achieved quite a lot. And my job is to expose that achievement and to show people what we have achieved. You mentioned Lovers Rock, and potentially you thought, or you had a view that some of the girls or a lot of the singers, they couldn't cut it. Their voices weren't, they were mediocre and whatever. I can play you stuff from the 70s, and you're gonna say, and they these girls can match any of the top American singers. Yeah, because
So,
because
so the reason I said that was because the notes that we utilized they were very simple. So if you can play a guitar, it was the same three or four bars. You know what I
some
mean? So I was
some
wondering if that was it.
some
But go ahead.
right, but I can play you some sophisticated lovers rock where they go beyond the standard chords, where
Well,
they'll
that's why that's why we're gonna have another one of these. And guess what? You see those little, you see the dust on them tables you have there. You're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
have to be able to. What I'd like you to do is, I'd like to be able to film you walking us through that genre with a
Absolutely.
timeline and a two. Because guess what? We only got time, just time.
Yeah, man, for
You know
real,
what I
for
mean? So
real.
we have to do that. But no disrespect to the singers. I'm just saying it was the bars. So for example, do you play music?
Do I play music?
Yeah. Have
I,
you ever?
I've been taught to play the piano.
Okay. So the
Not
reason
well. Well, the teacher was good, but I didn't, But
right, right,
I understand the rudiments. Yeah.
right, because sometimes when you listen to a lot of those lovers rock tunes, if you have strum a guitar, even you can follow along. You know what I mean? And but
But equally, I could say to you, critically, I could bring you selections that you may well not have been exposed to.
right, right,
If you see
right.
what I'm saying. Even some of the artists, because you have to go beyond. If you know that an artist has created an album from the 70s, because there are many artists that have made albums in the 70s, and
Yeah.
you may well not be aware of that,
Right,
for
right, right.
example. If you
But
see
don't
what I'm
get me
saying.
wrong, Paulette Tarja, Carol Thompson, even the song Yesterday. Every now and again when me and the wife are going on a road trip, we done a nice little road trip from Dallas to Vegas. And, when you're doing an 18-hour drive, I have to just go in my lover's rock and I have to give her a little Janet
Yeah,
Kay. And
absolutely.
honestly, it brought us back to times, some really fun reggae
Yeah.
lovers rock times.
But before we end up on that, let me just say, Carol Thompson is classically trained. She's a classically trained
Wow, I didn't know
musician.
that.
Yeah, she's classically trained. When you
Nice,
listen to
nice.
her Lovers Rock, it does do different things. So when you listen to one of her albums, you'll see it's quite different to your average. You'll see that Gene Adibombo, who Carol did work with as well and
Right.
produced. So Carol Thompson's Carol Thompson actually has been underplayed. She's a producer. She had her own record label back in the day, same time. Yeah.
Nice,
So
nice.
there's a lot that I'm unpacking and bringing to people's attention. The fact that a group like Tradition played abroad in Europe, and they played in they went to Northern Ireland even during the Troubles and
Wow.
played there. You understand
Nice.
what I'm saying? So these
Yeah,
are the
yeah, yeah.
things through me having these discussions with artists and groups. I had an interview with a girl, a lady named Iris. She was a member of the band Revelation. Remember the song With You Boy? Now they were a
Yes, yes.
band. They were a band. Now those three ladies started out wanting to sing R&B, and then somehow it switched, and the guys that they linked up with only knew how to play reggae. But they're bringing their love for Diana Ross and all those artists. They're bringing all those harmonies and whatever that they learned. They brought that to reggae, and a lot of those artists. When you look at Karen Wheeler from Brown Sugar, a lot of these artists went on to work with pop stars. They were
Right.
the BVs and arrangements. Karen Wheeler and Claudia Fontaine, they were one of the staples, key people behind backing vocals for Top of the Pops. Karen Wheeler, part of Brown
Wow.
Sugar, was on top, was a backing vocalist for a lot of the artists, pop
Right.
artists, jazz artists, whatever. So
We
that
just didn't
just
see them in the back there. We just didn't see them.
there, yeah, exactly. But it's for us, and part of what I'm doing now to tell that story.
Bring
That
them
these
forward.
people that you guys or not, that people think were just doing simple, rudiment, basic chord structures and whatever. They had a bigger range that maybe than what you're aware of, and they have done. And when you listen more so now, you'll hear lots of artists doing, and it doesn't matter, it's not just this country, not just the UK, but you'll hear sophisticated reggae, lovers rock, whatever, with changes and different chord structures, and outside of the box. Yeah, so yeah, there's I could go on for ages, but we don't want to do that.
There's been some good BBC programs, documentaries on British UK reggae as well that I've actually seen. Really
Absolutely.
good ones. Really good ones.
Absolutely, but
Um,
go to my website, because that's where you'll get the it's more than superficial. That's
well,
where we
I want you to drop the links as well,
yeah
or email me the links. I
yeah we go
have
to on my website. So it's about bringing all of that out, and my project. You talk about project. I'm actually retired. I retired several years ago, early
Roger doesn't
retirement.
use the word. I don't know the term retirement. Retirement
Well,
means ready for dead. I mean already yet.
well, I'm no longer working for the man. I'm receiving a
Okay.
pension.
Okay. All right.
So my good pension sustains me. But well, I'm working harder now as a retired in retirement now, because I'm just being able to fulfill lots of projects and interests. And those interests have got me working harder than when I was working for the man. Um, so as I said, one of my main retirement project is documenting the history of reggae in the UK. That's my
Well,
focus.
I have one question for you, and I always like to ask someone a question that's in their line and will make them think. Do you think that the Barry G. Rodigan clashes and that need for dub plates, was it good or bad for the dancehall reggae juggler who used to go to dances and had to get on the mic and be seen them days?
I think those were classic clashes. What Barry G and David Rodigan did was introduce the world to something that they probably weren't used to. Those of us that went to dance halls we're used to it, and if you had the cassette tapes and whatever. So, but the fact that they were on radio and they brought a kind of dancehall scene to the radio audience, which is going to be which is vast compared to people, just our community listening to the tapes. Now we've opened it up to others that are not part of our, not of Jamaican heritage or Caribbean heritage, getting a taste of this competitive side, this competition that happens within reggae. I think they've done nothing but enhance it. I call them, certainly, I try to um, say to people, in today's language, people like David Rodigan, we would call him an influencer, if you see what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
you got to ask yourself, why has reggae punched above its weight? There are lots of other genres that are, come from small, but reggae seems to punch above its weight. You understand what I'm saying? It's influenced all these other genres and whatever, and peoples and cultures, and it's everywhere. And you got to go deeper, and just understand that there were these people that had a love of reggae. You've got your David Rodigan, your Chris Blackwell, your Richard Branson with the Virgin. You got go even back further. Emil Shalit, who was a Blue Beat label, a Jewish man, was the owner of the Blue Beat label. So when people are talking about Blue Beat music, it wasn't being pushed out by Jamaicans. It was actually marketed to another level by a white Jewish guy, Emil Shalit, Charlotte,
Yep.
or what So there are all these people that are outside of our community that have influenced and have played a key role in elevating it, and you can have a look at even when, and each stage. So you look at, when Shabba Ranks, um, that was another phase. So when we're talking, was it the late 80s or whatever when Shabba came on the scene? And that was like Sony Records got involved in. So we've had these key moments in reggae where it's been boosted. Sony went and bought up the whole of Shabba's catalog before they launched Shabba, because they didn't want all those producers with all these little tracks coming and riding on their investment. So they
Right.
went and bought it all up, and then so you've got these key things that have happened in reggae, key people and whatever that have got involved in reggae. It was, Chris Blackwell took Bob Marley and the Wailers to the next level. Bob Marley understood the plan. The other two weren't quite bought into it,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right. Yeah.
Bunny and whatever. But Bob said, yeah, we're great. We're big in Jamaica. But what about the world? And Bob bought into Chris Blackwell's vision of what where to eat. But Chris Blackwell wanted to make the Wailers a supergroup.
Right. I
And
think no
Bob,
one no one realizes the Commodores and Lionel Richie. Bob Marley was the one that split that group up because, they were the band that was. I think the Commodores had to come on after. They were the
okay.
open, yeah. And when, when Bob Marley and the man they come off, the place empty. Nobody don't want to see them boy there. They did because they didn't know they were. No one knew. It's like I remember distinctly. I think Bobby Brown made
Yeah.
the mistake of having Shabba as his
Yes.
opener in Wembley.
Oh no.
And I think Shabba was on it for 2 or 3 days. And honestly, if anyone remembers that time, please, please, please put in the comments. And man, the whole of Wembley was locked down. Wembley, Neasden, all of that area. Everybody jumped in their car to go see Shabba. He was signing records at Virgin one time.
Yeah.
Virgin told him, hey, Shabba's coming to, I think it was Marble Arch. Could you, we need some security, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Shabba turned up 2 hours late. London was locked down like there was a train strike. It was locked down. No matter which part of London you lived in, as a black Jamaican, Caribbean, African person, you
Find your way
found your
there.
way down to Marble Arch. I don't know if you remember, it was a gridlock,
Yeah, you got to
So
find your
all of
way
those
there.
were monumental times, monumental times.
Yeah, man, for real.
Yeah. Hey, I really appreciate this time, and I really want to do. You just let me know when you can do. What I'd like to do is hear a nice early. We can do a nice good 2 hour session where you start off from back in the early. Your because mine and your time. I'm not going to say it's that different. I came in around about 1980, but then I remember 75, 74. My dad's record them. You know.
Yeah,
So, all the Trojan labels, Studio One, I'm all about that, from back in the day. But I'd love to
more,
just
more,
listen to you play and you tell me about the influence and back in the day, and we just keep it smooth.
more than happy to do that. More than
Nice,
happy to
nice.
do that. Yeah.
Well, hey everybody, remember to subscribe and like for this wicked content. Thank you very, very, very much, Colin. And please give me all the
Yeah.
links so I can add these links on so people can see what you're all about. Really
Yeah.
grateful for you to bless my platform, my brother.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really love going back down memory lane.
Nice, nice. Hey, are you still looking like a young too,